There was a time when Iran was not isolated, not sanctioned, not surrounded by enemies, not struggling to survive. There was a time when Iran stood at the center of the known world. 500 years ago, this land was not defined by crisis. It was defined by power. Merchants crossed continents just to reach it. Empires negotiated with it instead of threatening it. And its cities were spoken of with awe. To understand how Iran reached its current state, we must first understand what it once was. In the early 1500s, Iran was unified under the Safavid Empire. This was not just another dynasty, it was the rebirth of a civilization. The Safavids transformed Iran into a centralized state after centuries of fragmentation. They did something no ruler before them had dared to do. They declared Shia Islam as the official religion of the empire. That single decision reshaped the Middle East permanently. It separated Iran from its Sunni neighbors and gave it a unique identity that still exists today. Under Shah Ismail and later Shah Abbas the Great, Iran became a global superpower. Its armies fought the Ottomans to a standstill. Its diplomats negotiated with Europe. Its borders stretched from the Caucasus to the Persian Gulf. But Iran's strength was not just military, it was cultural. The Safavid capital, Isfahan, became one of the most magnificent cities on earth. Foreign travelers called it Isfahan, half the world. Massive mosques covered in blue and gold tiles. Bridges designed not only for transport, but for beauty. Public squares larger than anything in Europe at the time. Art flourished. Calligraphy, miniature painting, architecture, and poetry reached new heights. Iran was a center of learning, refinement, and stability. It controlled key trade routes between Asia and Europe. Silk flowed through its markets. Ideas moved as freely as goods. While much of Europe was still emerging from medieval conflict, Iran was already a polished civilization. But history is unforgiving. Empires fade not because they are weak, but because the world around them changes. By the late 1600s and early 1700s, internal corruption and external pressure weakened the Safavids. Foreign powers began circling. Russia expanded southward. Britain pushed in from India. Iran became a battlefield of influence. By the 1800s, Iran was no longer shaping the world. The world was shaping Iran. Territories were lost, resources were exploited. The nation survived, but barely. Then came oil. At first, oil promised salvation. Instead, it brought interference. Foreign companies extracted wealth while ordinary Iranians remained poor. By the early 20th century, Iran was rich beneath the ground, but weak above it. That changed under Reza Shah Pahlavi. He seized power and launched rapid modernization. Railroads were built, schools and universities opened. A modern army replaced tribal forces. Iran began looking forward again. His son, Mohammad Reza Shah, accelerated this transformation. By the 1960s and 70s, Iran was one of the fastest modernizing countries in the region. Tehran looked more like Paris than the Middle East. Women attended universities in large numbers. Western companies invested heavily. Iran became a key ally of the United States. Oil money poured into infrastructure, industry, and education. Iran was not a democracy, but it was rising. Then came 1979. The Islamic Revolution changed everything. The Shah was overthrown. The monarchy collapsed. A religious government took control. At first, many Iranians believed this would bring justice and independence. Instead, it brought isolation. Relations with the West collapsed almost overnight. Sanctions followed. Then came war. In 1980, Iraq invaded Iran. The war lasted 8 brutal years. Cities were destroyed. Millions were killed or displaced. An entire generation grew up in conflict. When the war ended, Iran was exhausted. But instead of opening up, the system tightened. Political opposition was crushed. Media was controlled. Dissent became dangerous. Over time, sanctions multiplied. Iran was cut off from global markets. Its economy began to suffocate. Oil exports dropped. Currency collapsed. Inflation spiraled out of control. Highly educated young people found themselves unemployed. Doctors, engineers, and scientists dreamed only of leaving. Protests erupted regularly and were crushed just as regularly. Today, Iran faces one of the most severe crises in its modern history. Prices change daily, Savings vanish overnight. Basic goods become luxuries. The contrast with the past is painful. Once, Iran attracted scholars, traders, and artists from across the world. Now it struggles to keep its own people hopeful. Once, Isfahan symbolized elegance and confidence. Now, historic cities decay under economic pressure. Once, Iran connected civilizations. Now it stands isolated behind political walls. This is not because Iranians forgot how to build. It is because power shifted away from the people. What makes Iran's story tragic is not just the fall, it is the memory. Iranians know what their country once was. They know they descend from poets, engineers, and empire builders. They know their land shaped world history, and that knowledge makes the present harder to bear. Iran today is not poor in culture, not poor in intelligence, not poor in potential. It is poor in freedom. And freedom once lost is the hardest thing to recover. History teaches us something important. Civilizations do not disappear overnight. They fade when fear replaces ambition, when control replaces creativity, when silence replaces debate. Iran's story is not finished, but it is unfinished. From the splendor of the Safavid Empire to the uncertainty of modern crisis, Iran stands as a reminder that greatness can be delayed, but never erased. The question is not whether Iran was once powerful. That is undeniable. The real question is whether a civilization that once ruled half the world can rise again, or whether its golden age will remain locked in history books, remembered, but never returned. If you enjoy deep stories about hidden history, lost empires, and forbidden places, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the bell icon so you don't miss what comes next. Because history isn't just something we study, it's something we're still living through.